Kaya Wanju, Wanju Ninya, Noongar Boja, Jerpanini Ninya, Nunuk Boja, Ninini, Murdich Kaya, Yedich Nunuk. Hello, welcome. Welcome here to Noongar country. We're happy to see you and hope you have a good day.
Feeling connected gives us a sense of belonging and knowing Ngala Kurt. This can help us to feel Murdich, Wabadak, Wirn, emotionally and physically, which helps Ngala wanging healthy decisions for Ngala Murd, Buja, Maya.
People talk about uniting, people talk about supporting each other, people talk about connecting up, but very few people know how to do that.
The challenges are out there today because we don't live like that anymore. And I think it's very hard for some to maybe cope because they don't know anything about it.
Some people come in that's been affected by different things in the communities at different levels and at different times in their lives.
Some of our young ones now have been sidetracked. They wander off the track, they lose that connection.
I felt really sad because like a lot of my family, like my grandparents lived here, cousins, aunties and uncles.
Understanding our healing means that we've got to go do a lot of things. We've got to reconnect to country. We've got to understand who we are. We've got to understand belonging in a cultural sense. Belonging comes through our family bloodlines. It comes through our spirituality. In terms of if we're connected to totems, if we're connected to certain places on our buja, if we're connected to certain knowledge. Song lines or certain dreaming places or certain creation stories. All of that is really important in helping to nourish our spirit. And our Wirn is an important. So Wirn is not spirit, like Buja is not land. Mort is not family. It's this holistic 360 concept of those words. So country is not even enough to describe what Buja is. Buja can be my father's country, my mother's country, my heartland, my spiritual home of my totem, my songline, my dreaming place. This particular place is part of my Buja. These little critters that live in the biota of our soil is part of our Buja. The sun and the moon and the stars and the waters, the rivers, are all part of Buja, because they carry their own spiritual strength and their own spirit. And so when we connect to all of that, we understand who we are. To heal and to find a strength in your spirit, in your Wirn, or in your Kajan, or in your Boy, that requires you going to the places where those spirits are connected to you. And if you don't know that, then you don't go there. So people may think that they're healthy, and they may be physically healthy, but there's not a holistic health there.
There's a lot of our people today that don't know anything about their culture, and they need to, a lot of them want to learn, and they try to, get people, and a lot of them say they can't tell them anything. But my mother taught me a lot. My mother used to rob beehives, if you know what I mean. She'd climb the tree, she'd build if it was up high up, she'd build a step of stones, and she'd dress up in my father's clothes, work clothes, put the netting over her head and everything, and go climb up there and just smoke the bees with green leaves, and just smoke that, and then we all just smoke. from the ground and would calm the bees. And then she'd get up there and get the honeycombs out. And we'd have sunshine powdered milk tins, and she'd keep all them for the honey. So we hardly ever had sugar, we always had honey. And that's the sort of things that I can remember. That's what I tell people we used to have. And my dad used to get kangaroos, and we had 2 roo dogs. And he would never feed them a day before he took them out because they had to catch the kangaroo, even though he still had this gun from years later.
Sometimes when people come into your workplace and there's a problem, it could be anything to not knowing what medication they take, or knowing how to get to an appointment, or reading a letter, or understanding what is happening to them. So you give them education, do health promotion stuff, you help them with the GPs, be that person in the middle to connect them so that they understand what was happening. And it's not just health too, it's mental health as well, and their well-being is the main thing. Like, you're coming in and you'd hear that, and you'd hear stories of people's walk, and you walk with them and you make it better for them, hopefully, that they can find what they need, find themselves in a better place. And it can be simple things, something little thing that be not hard for you, but would be hard for them to move from A to B.
Connected country, from my point of view, is that information, that giving of our old people's experiences was passed down to us as kids growing up out here on the reserve. You know, like grandmother, grandfather, and even uncle aunties. They were the givers of information. They were giving us all the stuff that we need to learn to be connected to country. And only to special pieces of country. We couldn't go and say, oh, we're connected over there or connected over here. This is where we were brought up, and this is our connection to this country here now. And all the stories that connected us were told by them. You know, so we just to carry on from our old people. They gave us that for us to carry it on to give to our kids. So we just keep that carrying on of information to our young ones. Yeah. And I think it's a good thing because I preserve a lot of the stuff that was given to me 50 years ago. You know, what my grandparents told me and my old uncle and aunties. Because where we are out here, everybody cared for each other. Did a lot of caring and sharing, you know. So that's the way I connect to this country here. Even though, you know, as I said before, even though part of my family come from elsewhere, but this is where the information was given to me by my grandparents to be here.
A lot of our elders, like parents and grandparents, have passed on, so now it's come round to my generation where, no, we are the elders in the community, but for me as an elder, I find that a lot of our young ones that I helped at school with their education and I've built up a good rapport with them, a lot of them have come to me at times and asked me like for advice, and it could be like your health or really anything that they need to, you know, help with, and I'm quite happy to, you know, to help them because I've myself personally, I'm just trying to think of the right word, but I've gotten to know how to, I've learnt things myself that I need to know as an older person so that I can not only improve my quality of life but also be, I wouldn't say the word bold, but, you know, you're able to speak up for yourself so that, you know, you can have a good life. And you do, and I just say to the young ones, well, you know, you do need the elders or the older ones in your community to help you with that.
For me, the first 10 years of my life was absolutely immersed in my Noongar culture and Noongar family and Noongar ways. And so I was fortunate enough to be exposed to a lot of old fellas who spoke language fluently, who knew not just how to speak the language, but they knew how to interpret and articulate what language meant and give it context for us, and that's a really important learning, and a really important learning around language, because language is not just speaking. Language is a conceptual communication process that happens, and so these days I reinterpret stuff based on a lot of the things that I've learned, a lot of things that I've known, a lot of things that I've been taught. And so what I do today is very much, at the core of being Noongar.
We also took the scouts, cubs, guides and the brownies with some of the women was with them and men took them out. And we took them along where the railway line is, when you come over this way, back to where the railway line is. And my husband had a shovel and I had a stick and a sharp point. And we got out there onto the road and I said to the kids, I said, you all have to have a stick. And they all looked at my husband with the shovel. I said, he's got a shovel, he's not allowed to use that. I said, he's cheating. I said, he's not allowed to cheat when it comes to our culture. So he just stood there with a shovel and I got on the ground and I sat on the ground and I showed him how to dig around the plant, So you dig around this way, then you pull it out with your hands. So they did. I said, and when you put your hand in there, you twist it that way. I said, and then you turn around and you pull it out. I said, then you've got to cover the hole over. And there was these 3 boys at one plant they dug up, one quarry. And I walked over. Everyone else had covered the hole over, and I told them they had to cover it over. And everyone else had done it, these 3 boys. And I said, are you boys going to put that sand back in that hole, fill that hole up? They said, no, it's right. I said, no, it's not. I said, what did I say to you? They said, oh, you told us to fill it in. I said, exactly. I said, why? They said, because then it will grow next year when the rains come. I said, well, that's important, isn't it? They said, yes. And they said, but, it can stay as it is. The rain will still go there. And I said, well, what about if a little lizard or some little creature come along, I said, looking for a drink of water or a feed? I said, and they fall in that hole and can't get out. I said, what do you reckon will happen to them? They said they could probably die. I said, yes, they would, won't they? So 6 hands just went like that. In 1 second, that hole was covered over. That's the sort of thing we go out and teach.
Working in your community and growing up in your community, everybody knows you. But sometimes when we're working in mainstream, if I can say mainstream, it's hard for our community to come freely sometimes. A trust thing, which is passed for our clients. So coming in and getting stuff done early in their journey with their illness is always hard. So the earlier we can get them in, the better. But sometimes that's a challenge for them. So we have to work with them a little closer and walk with them on this and making it better for them to come in to get the process done for their health. So the trust thing, somebody would say hi to you and say, but they won't come in. So you always have to have an awareness of something that's why, and you try and make it better. Say, well, if they don't want to come into the office today, I'll come and sit with you at the park. We'll go down and have a yarn. And yarning is the best medicine, and you learn so much about somebody when you're having a yarn, and that's like a medicine for us.
In the old days, we shared and cared a lot for people who weren't my immediate relations, but because they were related to my father and go back 2 or 3 cousins back, then we had to respect that, and that's what it all means. It means that big word, respect, and we respect him right around. People that I've never met before. When my family introduced me to them, that respect just goes from there straight away, and they connect to me. They can, you're related, you're so-and-so's son or nephew. Yeah, that's my uncle or that's my dad, Oh, well, that's my family. So we just connect up. And the importance of that is because if I travel somewhere else to where these fellas live and come from, then they're obligated to me then. So I turn it around. If I go to their country, they're obligated to me to care for me and share with me. Because that's that mutual respect that we have for each other. And I know that over the years things have started to change, but some of us have still got that respect and importance of respect and obligation to each other. We've got to put that trait onto our younger ones. We say, now this is your uncle over there or your auntie over there. You've got to respect him.
Cultural survival is about how do we keep those old ways? How do we keep those old concepts? How do we keep language that expresses all of those concepts and all of those old ways in an appropriate way, and in that holistic sense, absolutely in the Noongar context? How do we keep that strong? Water was a critical part of the cultural, spiritual aspect of connection to country. So the ngama holes provided those life points when Noongar people travelled across country. They were markers in the songlines. They were keys in parts of our dreaming stories. The whole creation story through the spiritual world and understanding of who the Wāgal was. The Wāgal was the giver of life through the waterways and the creation of those in our dreaming stories. And that was our interpretation of our creation and how our natural world was created. But I think we should always acknowledge that our old people believed that the waterways, our riverways, the ngama holes, the springs, the rainwater, how it was all collected and how it was critical in our cycle of life. And the river systems were not just the riverways, the river itself, but all of the wetlands, all of those streams and creeks and feeder systems that fed into, for us, Gogajar is the whole system of the riverways, the waterways in Balladong country. Our responsibility, particularly in this season of Djerran, it's important that we, through caring for country, that we maintain the health of these ngama holes. And so this one here requires, at this time of the year, for us to clean it out, and so I'll proceed with that, just giving it a clean out, making sure that there are no obstructions, and so the yanjit plants that you can see coming back, that are growing and coming back to life again, these the birak is now gone and Djerran is here, and we are now back into fertility season, and so providing that life through water.
We've had to code switch from our traditional food to European food, which I found over the years it really has an impact on our health as Aboriginal people or Indigenous people. Like we get things like heart disease, diabetes, cancer, which was never very common. I've never ever heard of cancer when I was a young kid, but up until now it's quite common. We're obese, very much overweight, which causes these problems. And working for the education department, I've also learnt how we need to eat healthy, so that we can live a longer life, which our life expectancy I know is not very long for us as Indigenous people or Aboriginal people. It's not good at all. For me to start the day on a good note, I suppose you could say, I have my juice, which consists of pears, pineapple, apple, banana and spinach. I've never ever liked spinach, but I like spinach now because I found that it's good for you. learning about this, I've also passed it on to our young ones at school, how they need to improve their quality of life by making good choices, eating healthy, exercise, having a good night's sleep. And I always just say to them, well, you know, you do a lot of exercise. A lot of you walk to school. You play basketball, you play netball. The boys play football, which is very, very good to see this. That, you know, that you're all doing this, and so yeah. So because as you get older, you cannot do these kind of things. So you need to start learning how to eat healthy or living a better, you know, lifestyle, so that, you know, as you get older, it improves, makes your life longer, which is not, you know, which is a good thing.
Yeah, these are some of the bush foods that we used to eat as when we were kids growing up and running around through the bushland. This one here is not that healthy at the moment because of the lack of rain we had. These leaves are usually flat and spread out like that, but as you see, they're folding over. What we do to get a piece of this bourne leaf out, we pull it out of the centre. And this is the part that we eat. As you see, it's a bit dry, but usually it's soft and it tastes like spearmint. And if we dug down further, dug the whole root out, we'd put that in the ashes and cook it. It's orange. It's an orange colour, sort of like, a bit like that, but it's orange. The fruit itself is it's a type of vegetable. So we get that out and we put him in the ash and make a fire, and then we eat him up. We share it around. We'll eat it. It makes your tongue blue, but it's got a hot taste around, like a turnip, I suppose. It's shaped like a turnip as well, but he comes from right down the bottom, so you bring him up. And there's plenty other bush foods around too, but because of the weather impacted on bush foods growing up in this region, we probably won't have until we have a good winter. No gum on them. You can see they're dry. The leaves are turning a yellow colour because they're stressed for lack of water. We used to get the sap out of it, which we call the jam gum. We get that just rip it off the trunk of the tree or the limb of the tree, and eat that. And it's got a golden. It's like golden, and it's how would you say, buddy? It's dry and crumbly. It's like it tastes really nice. It's beautiful. We used to go miles for these, and we eat them because that was another source of our bush tucking growing up as well. Is that we didn't need lollies them days. We just ate what we had out in the bush, and this is what we teach our kids about all these bush foods that's available for them when they want to come out in the bush and have a day out, and maybe in the future bring their kids out here as well, because this experience and this knowledge that's been passed down, we treasure it today as well. Unfortunately, these ones here we can't. It's not soft enough because the rain had an impact on it. But yeah, this is what we call the bourne bush.
My brother and I used to go through the bush and get what we wanted. We never got colds and flus and things. You know, we never got sick in the bush. And we could walk through there wherever we wanted to. And nothing said, because we're always on farmers' properties where my dad worked. But we would know when the food was out, which season they would come in, and then there would be berries out as well. So there's always things in. We'd take the smaller tins to put all the berries in, and bring the other lot back and put it. The quartage we could put in ashes. There's a Kangaroo. It looks like a potato, like that. The shape of a potato. Some people call them yams, but they're bigger. With that one, what you do is when you get out of the ground, you wash the dirt off it. And one part's got a round end, and the other part's got a pointy end. Well, what you do is you put the round end in your hand once you wash the dirt off, and that looks like a glass that has got juice in it, and the juice is sweet. And you can bite the pointy end, and you can have a taste of the juice, and the whole thing is beautiful. And with the quarries, you can either eat them when they're very, very red. You can eat them as they are. They're nice and juicy and sweet. But if they're not so ripe and they're a little bit overripe, then you've got to put them in the ashes on the side.
For Noongars, the fire, or Kaarla, Kaarl was the word, and Kaarl was the main part of words that became our terms that we used for home. It was campfire, but it was also Kaarlak. Kaarlak was our home, and later became, when Noongars moved from the bush onto the reserves and into, whitefella constructed houses, Kaarla Mia became home and house.
Yeah.
But at the heart of it was, in every campfire was where fellas camped, where old fellas sat around and talked and yarned through issues. It's where people grew up, and obviously it was central for heating, and it was the place that everybody met.
It was warm.
Yeah, and every family had their own Kaarla.
Yeah.
Is that right, Mum?
Yes.
And Mum, the old fellas used to say on the reserves, come on, let's garlic or
Pulling,
Yeah.
that's mean let's go home.
Yeah.
Because the fire was their home.
Yeah.
So, Kaarla pulling now. So that's what they used to mean, going back to the home where the fire was.
Yeah.
Fire was for Noongars the most best thing ever, because it kept them warm to cook their food. Wherever they went, they carried a log burning to light it when they get to where they're going.
The Noongars always saw fire as a friendly ally. People didn't fear it. We used it to manage the land. We used it in hunting, gathering, and of course we were doing it for such a long time on our budja that all these trees and plants and the ecology of our natural systems on our country now need either one or both of smoke and fire to germinate their seeds, to continue the cycle of life.
My dad went out and took the dogs out for a kangaroo. He would never waste anything. He would bring it home, skin it, and what he would do with the skin is nail it to a tree where there were ants. Nail the whole skin to his tree, and he'd cook the innards of the roo and the head and all that part, and the legs, like the bones and everything, from the down to the feet, well, except for the claws and things, he wouldn't. Yeah. And he would nail the skin to the tree, and the ants would eat all what was left on the skin, and then there was just a bare skin. And he would have these special stones that he would use for the kangaroo skin. Scrape the inside where the skin part left and make it soft. And then he would go and get lake salt and roll that through the kangaroo skin. And then when it was ready, he would wash it, then hang it out, and he would do that again with the salt, and then clean it again, and then he would dry it out again. And then my mum would cut it into squares or rectangles and sew it to our blankets for warmth.
I had my great-grandparents around, like I had my great-grandmothers around from 3 of our families, over 100, and my mum and dad and my grandfathers and grandmother and the family all around on the reserve. So we like a little village, really. It was fantastic because we had everybody there, but we had families that didn't have that, and the impact that it has on some families not having that connection, because that is so important for somebody's inner health, the connection for them finding themselves and knowing who they are, so that they can be the person that they need to be. Yeah, and that's very much aware. We are very much aware that in their community, like whose families been away, and that they come back and they, you have open arms for them and teach them, and you take them out bush and you teach them about your families and where they lived and where their grandparents lived and stuff. And I can share a yarn when I had a client that we was having a meeting at front of the old building where they got taken away, and you didn't know that. You should be aware of some of the stuff that family affects family. So just having awareness and acknowledging it is enough for some of the families, and sharing it is even better for them to know that, but the connection for your family, for your homeland or your country is so important for our inner health as Aboriginal people.
There's some of our young ones now, and I would say all of them, but some of them have been sidetracked. They wander off the track, they lose that connection. They seem to be lost in the midst of something else, and that impacts on their lifestyle if there's no one there to bring them back, to draw them and give them a bit of support, family support, and tell them their links to their family as well, so they can, I might go, and if I go somewhere I can connect up with that mob. Because if they start losing their connection to that family structure, they get into other things like the drugs and the alcohol, which is impacting on our younger ones now, very much so, And I say to the younger ones, my boys, myself, I say I've been there already, I've been there, I know what it's like, but I've seen the light at the tunnel. I come through and I made changes in my life to this is where I am now, You get to the stage where I want to be like Joe Blow down the corner, He's doing well for himself. So that's the sort of stuff that impacted on me by seeing my friends doing what they want and seizing the opportunities. There's opportunities that we can seize. I tell my young ones, you need to get in there and do something with your life. Set some goals. You've got to set goals, Then you can achieve those goals if you work towards it. But you've got to inspire from someone else, or you've got to inspire yourself to be able to say, yes, I need to be there. I want to buy a new car. You can't buy a new car if you don't work. So these kids have got to be told, the younger ones have got to be told, look, that's where you need to head. Start heading in that direction. These side attractions, get rid of them. Because they're going to pull you back to where you don't want to be, And there's a whole life ahead of you, fellas. You've got a long way to go. And don't be like, I say to the kids, we're getting funerals coming at us left, right and centre. We don't want to keep attending funerals for our younger ones. The old people, the younger ones are dying before the old people. Now that's got to stop. We're to try and be strong enough to support the younger ones and some of the families of the younger ones. We're to support all that, put all the support network in place so they can look after. Because sometimes the family members are pulled back down as well because they can't cope with the kids or the young ones of today. They can't cope with them because they think it's too hard. So we've got to get behind them and support them too, because if they go down the gurgler, then you can lose a whole lot of that family because the values start to weaken.
We've got to reconnect our kids to who they are in the context of culture, spirit, country. And when we can do that, there is great hope, for individuals, for our kids, for our future, for the legacy that we as a generation of, fathers, mothers, elders today, because we can do it. It's very much doable. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of people with the strength and the courage to stand up for what is right and what is good.
All our families, the connection is there in little things like that. And then we have family get-togethers, and they are very, very important. And we all sit down and have a talk and have a laugh and have barbecues and at home, or we go bushing like this and have something out here.
When we live here on country and we're still here, but we feel happy because we're here. But then when you look in a distance, you're looking for your family, so you feel some sense of sadness because family's not, the loved ones, the older ones are not here with you, and the ones that you grew up with. So you have that little bit of sadness then when you do come back to country and see that families are not here. But that feeling that you have makes you feel proud because you're part of that family, you're part of that family, and you're still here, so you can carry on for your family and your people.
The sky's the limit as far as education for our Noongar people are. I've known people who come down from the bush and got into university. How good is that? It makes me proud to, that person or that family member, they're studying this doctorate at the University of WA. Oh, isn't that fantastic? So you get a feel from them that feels to you, and you think, that's fantastic, I like it. I wish more of our kids could do that, or more of our younger ones can do it. And I know that they can be good role models for the future for our next generation.
It's made me realise that you've got to have a healthy lifestyle. So I teach the young ones that to be healthy or to have a good quality of life, that they need to make good choices, and that means like healthy eating, exercise, being happy, which we all need to be, because I think being happy is a part of being healthy too. You have to have a big smile on your face, which I know that a lot of them do have, because you see them sitting around giggling and carrying on with one another, but that's a good sign, because I know that, they are content.
We are code makers. Our culture was a coded system, whether it was language or whether it was concepts like Buja, Mort, Khadijin. They were coded systems. Our songlines and our dreaming stories held sacred knowledge. And people say across Australia, if you know the song, you know the country. And so a big part of our cultural ways and our law was teaching the songs. So Noongars have not sung songs, sacred songs, old songs on our country for a long time, but I can tell you it's coming. It's coming back. And Noongars are hungry for it. We know that our young fellas need it. The health of our culture is dependent on the health of our people.
To laugh is a great thing. To me, everybody's good at it, remembering and seeing the funny side of things.
One of the things that I always say, I made them proud, because they're probably sitting out there watching me and saying, you did do us proud, son.
I'm just glad to be here. It's made me feel good, and especially on a nice day like it is today.
Connection for your family, for your homeland or your country is so important for our inner health as Aboriginal people.
We must reconnect back to our spiritual well-being. It's a key part of our culture, and it's a key part of our existence and our resilience and strength for the future.
No.